Beautiful. I'm here today with the man with the plan, the master marketer, Benny Troncoso. Benny, thank you for hopping on. The reason I call you the master marketer is because I have at least 3 or 4 of your business cards in my kitchen right now.
Really?
And I think I've only met you in person 2 times. So you're doing a great job of branding yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction too.
Absolutely. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing good.
Wonderful.
End of year, just running around. Had a new baby, so
congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. It's a blessing. I have 17-year-old twins, so I'm kind of just starting all over again, and I appreciate it. I appreciate every second I'm spending with the baby.
Absolutely. And how many kids do you have?
I have twins that are 17 years old, and then I have a 4-month-old.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
you look young, Benny. I can't believe you have 17-year-old twins.
I started when I was 20. I started young.
I think that's the best way to do it. That way you can enjoy the retirement years.
Well, let's see. I just restarted the clock on that.
Yeah, you messed up the plan. I don't know. All right. So part of the purpose I have this podcast is just so I can, showcase and highlight other professionals all around. But I've started off in my local market, and you seem like a great person to talk to because you have a bit of experience in real estate. I've heard you're going through a bit of transition right now as well. And specifically to me and my market, my demographic, I believe you're Hispanic. So I'd love to touch base on, working with Hispanic clients and just kind of diving onto all that. But before we do, I'd love to get kind of an introduction on how you ended up becoming a real estate agent, what your background is, and just kind of the history of Benny, so we can kind of get to know you.
Yeah, cool, man. Appreciate it. So yeah, I was before I started doing real estate back in 2020. My last role was the assistant director of field operations for the Department of Housing, which in short is I managed 2 regions for the state, Boston and the South Shore and the Cape. I manage offices within the DTA, Department of Transitional Assistance office, specifically where families came in and applied for homeless shelter. So like totally different end of the spectrum from what I'm doing now, where they're getting actual homes. These people, they came in to apply because they literally had nowhere to go. And so, so I supervise like 30 people, about 5 supervisors, 25 what we call benefits and eligibility workers. And these are the workers that, when people come in to apply, they take the application. The supervisors will review the application and then sign off just to see if they approve the shelter. And then we would send them to a state funded shelter.
And how long ago was this?
I quit in 2020. I believe it was 2020. I quit. 2020.
Okay.
Yep, I got my license first, so I was doing it kind of part-time. I bought my house, again, when my kids were born, my twins were born. I realized pretty quickly that we needed more space, so I bought my house pretty young during the downturn. So I bought it, I think, in 2011. So I was young and we'll get a little, we can go deeper into it, but, first generation homeowner. And just growing up in the city of Boston, most of my peers, were all living in either projects or Section 8 housing and stuff like that. So it was a huge accomplishment for people.
Where do you grow up in Boston?
What's that?
Where do you grow up in Boston?
I was born in JP, grew up in Rosendale.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I'm from, I grew up in Boston, South End, Villa Victoria, and, a bunch of my friends, Rosendale, JP. So, I'm familiar with, just the urban environment and just really having to, put your best foot forward and stay focused to get ahead and, break all the curses that's around.
Absolutely.
That comes with being a first generation person over in Boston.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'd love to dive in as far back as your 20s. So you mentioned you purchased your first home around the time that you were having your twins. And that was quite a bit ago. What were you doing around that time that gave you the option to purchase a home? What were you doing for work?
I don't remember. I believe I want to say I was doing No, I was doing advocate. So I was an advocate. So before I started working for the state, I was actually an advocate for those people that went to apply for the offices and either kept getting denied or for any reason weren't eligible. So I was an advocate for homeless individuals going through just trying to stay sober, and then to advocate for families trying to get into the system, get a shelter, and then after that, obviously getting their own apartment. So I was an advocate while at that point, but in between, I always had like a couple of jobs. I always had side hustles. So I was working part-time at Sears when that was a store, and I was doing sales there. I was doing sales, so that's how I got introduced to sales, and I love that. But going back a little bit to the reason, so when I bought my first house in 2020, that kind of allowed me to start getting into real estate. So I was, I had a 2-family, so I had tenants. I was dealing with that. Then I bought another house, and then my realtor at that time, who I met through Zillow, I was a Zillow lead for him. We did like 3 or 4 transactions together, and I referred him some people. And then I got tired of it. I said, "Listen, Jose, I think I'm going to get my license now, man. For me to start making some money on the side as well." So that's how I got introduced to it. But pretty quickly in my first year, I was already making the same amount of money I was making working for the state, and I was having a lot more fun doing real estate.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of helped me make that decision of quitting the state and getting into full time as a real estate agent.
Yeah, I mean, what seems consistent, throughout your journey is that, with carrying multiple jobs and coming out of the environment that we did, it seems like you've always been a hard worker, and consistently, from what you've shown, you've always been interested in helping people. It seems coincidental that it's been, working with the homeless and now finding more established people and helping them buy or sell their home, but kind of all in the same category. So that's really unique and interesting to hear. During your time, so you purchased a home in 2020, and you kind of fast forwarded there. You were able to buy a second home after that, or?
Yeah, so I kind of did like the house hacking thing. So I bought a 2-family. I was living off that, renting the first floor, renting the basement out. And then I decided, well, let me keep this. Let me get a single family. So we moved out of there. We got a single family house. And then house didn't need a lot of work. It was like a new construction, technically. It was only 5 years old when I bought it. But it was like builder's grade. So everything in there was just cheap. And so I kind of spruced up the place, make it a little nice. And then I sold that again after a year and a half or 2 years. And then bought a third home, and ended up selling that the first multifamily, and bought 2 more multifamily. So I kind of got into real estate really quickly.
Yeah, you were all in. All right.
Yeah, I was all in. Yeah.
The person that helped you out, Jose, I'm not sure if that's his actual name, but Jose, obviously from your first experience purchasing real estate to your second and third transaction, how much input, how much help did your real estate agent provide, or do you feel like you were doing a lot of the homework on your own and kind of figuring things out on your own? How was he in that process?
I did a little bit, but to be honest with you, I think, and that's why I'm so fixed into serving this underserved community, which is the Hispanic community. It's because there's not a lot of information, and being a first generation homeowner, there's not a ton of information back then. I mean, I shouldn't say back then, but obviously, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 years ago, YouTube it was a thing, but there wasn't much content out there that you can, I started listening to bigger pockets and podcasts like that helped me get some information. But in terms of pulling the trigger, I had no one in my family to go to for that. So I kind of I trusted him a lot. He was a trustworthy person. He was a hard worker. Jose Rojas is his name, and he's still an active and in production agent. And so, I trusted him a lot in my decisions. That's why I'm very appreciative of the work that he did with me.
Beautiful. Shout out to Jose. So that's kind of what I asked to see how much of a resource he was, throughout your process as a first time home buyer. us as agents now, we know, how dependent clients can be, especially their first time around, and navigating real estate, purchasing the right property, navigating the negotiations, and even past that point, just maintaining a home and doing the right business behind it, especially if you have a multifamily. So I've got good to hear that you were able to find a good resource within Jose. And as you mentioned, luckily we have guys like you putting out videos and content online that's helpful and resourceful to people. Specifically, the Hispanic community. What's been your experience as a real estate agent? Kind of serving our community, and do you feel that for the most part our demographic is a little bit less educated in the home buying process compared to more established people out here? And you have to be more of a resource. You have to put a little bit more work into that. What's been your experience overall?
100%. Yeah. I mean, these are folks that have to be handheld because, again, they were where I was, however long, 15 years ago, 14 years ago, whenever I started. So, yeah, from talking to them about building up their credit and their work history, and from getting them connected with lenders to staying on top of them afterwards to see if they needed an extra year to get ready after they spoke to the lender. Maybe they have a few issues that they need to fix, to the point where we're looking at homes, going through homes just to explain to them what the difference is between a boiler and an electric panel. These are folks that seriously, if you've lived in an apartment in a building, you've probably never seen anything, a water heater, unless you've been to Home Depot.
It's funny because it's relatable to me. Growing up in Boston, I grew up in apartments my whole life, and transitioned over. I did a little bit of work around residential homes earlier in my career, but now I'm touring homes and having this whole experience as a new agent, and I'm running into the same things where I'm questioning what's this, what's that, what's this process, and it's real. For a lot of people that don't grow up in homes, you don't have the exposure to it.
Right.
To know all these systems and things like that. So having someone like yourself is very beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And then getting a head start. Like a lot of things in life, you make your money when you buy whatever the asset or whatever you're buying, the product that you're buying. The same thing is with real estate.
Welcome back.
Oh man, sorry about that. I don't know what, maybe if it was my end or your end, I don't know what happened there.
Good old technology. Nothing new there. But yeah, so you got cut off. So as far as serving the Hispanic community, being a resource to educate people and all that.
Yeah, just being a resource and just putting the importance in just not only just the process, but just the the actual purchase, because like a lot of things in terms of, especially in assets, you make your money when you buy it. You got to buy it right, and so just making sure that they're making a wise decision, when they're purchasing and taking their time. And maybe sometimes we can't take our time. I tell people, like, when I meet them, and a few people have expressed this, like, oh, are you sure you're not just gonna trying to sell me the first house to get rid of me? I'm like, no, I'm gonna make sure you buy right the first time so that you call me in a couple of years to get your second
Exactly.
one. And so that's what I focused on mostly with these folks. These are folks that want to build generational wealth, because they're not starting from zero. Some of us are starting from negative. We got an overdraft fee when we were born, and so just teaching them how to invest right, even if it's not a multifamily. Although I want to say 3/4 of the business that I've done this year has been multifamilies. Even if it's not a multifamily, even if it's a single family, I always tell people it's like your first vehicle. You want something that's going to get you to point A to point B, but it's going to give you some value in that you're saving money, and at the end, you're going to be in a better position to buy your second one. With a house, the nice thing about the house is that it's an appreciative asset, and so you buy right, you do a little bit of work, and hopefully, in a few years, you're going to be able to either sell it or pull some money out and buy your second one. And I already have. I've only been doing this full time for 5 years, but I already have folks that are on their second turnaround buying second home. So it's nice. I was joking with someone the other day. I was like, I started during COVID. So all the purchases that everybody made me look like makes me look like a genius, because they all gone up like 25%.
No, definitely time the market when you're entering into real estate. I'm
Right.
sure your customers in 2020, 2021 are very appreciative of you.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to hear just in a short timeline of 5 years that you're seeing some turnaround and folks either selling or buying a second, third home, etc. So it seems like you definitely helped them and put them on the right track. Now, obviously, you can only help these people once you're in front of them, once they've met Benny and they've been able to see the value that you're able to provide and make the decisions into working with you. As you mentioned before, it's an underserved community.
Mhm.
There's a few different things that create obstacles as far as language barriers, and then just the extra work that you have to put in to educate these buyers or sellers into making the right move. Because as we know, there's two parts that go into making any business decision. There's emotional aspects to it, and there's also rational aspects to it. Most people kind of get carried away, which is the emotional part of it, of fitting the picture in their head of the dream home that they want or the investment
Exactly.
that they want. And you kind of reel them back in into making a rational decision and making sure that they're making the right business move for themselves, because purchasing a home, even if a single family, is a business move. Um, what do you do, if anything different at all from your regular clientele? What do you do to get in front of these people and be able to provide them value?
Well, my family comes from a small town in the Dominican, from Bani, and
Van lejos.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So starting, I think it started in the late 70s and definitely in early 80s. A lot of folks from Bani started settling in Boston. Bani is a very small town, but because there was a few folks that touched ground here first and kind of settled, everyone kind of like piggyback off of them. There's a large population of Banilejos in Boston. Not only that, but I was born and raised in Boston. I always played sports, and I never like a bad guy doing bad things. And so people, and I always been coming from an advocate background and helping people. People know that of me, and so they trust me. So that kind of creates the trust. They know me just because of my background, just probably because of my last name, my family back home, or folks from schools and stuff like that, or from baseball. So that kind of develops also that known factor. So if they know, they trust you, now they just got to like you. And so
Yeah.
social media helped me out a lot. I did not have social media before I had my license. Once I got my license, or once I was doing my classes to get my license, my wife was the one that motivated us. Like, you need to get on social media. People are asking like, how you doing? So, how do they know about you? So social media definitely helped with that. Just get it back in front of people and remembering people. Hey, this is Benny, the nice guy. So
Yeah.
helpful guy. And then, the social proof is another thing. So the fact that I was able to buy a house at a young age, and people know me, it's like, oh, remember Benny, bought a house, back then. So he knows about it. So, even before I had my license, whenever someone had an issue or wanted to start a home buying process or had questions about how to qualify, stuff like that, they would call me, or they would text me or see me in the streets, and they would start asking questions. So that all that stuff kind of like, helped me. But once you start going and you hopefully you get your first couple clients from your sphere of influence, the word of mouth is like, it's probably just as strong as social media.
That's what I love. And I'm not sure if it's all Hispanics or specifically to Dominicans. And if you're from Boston, every Dominican is from Bunny.
Yeah,
I'm not
mostly,
sure
yeah.
specific. I'm not sure it's specific to us, but Hispanics are typically very resourceful and not shy at all to go ahead and find people within their circle, within their community, and look seek them out for help. So obviously you being, positioning yourself not just as a real estate agent, but just as an individual that's been able to, you know, come out of the same environment, purchase a
Mhm.
home, move on to your second and third, etc. And people see that proof there. They're willing to come out to you and just kind of explore what you did and try to recreate it in their own life. So that's amazing there. And then obviously you've positioned yourself as a real estate agent, so they know that you're professional in the industry, have resources, and
Right.
have the lenders or contractors to refer them to. And just obviously we're resourceful. Another great thing is people are quick to drop all the referrals on you as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so our
Absolutely.
community usually takes pride in saying they have the guy. I have the best real estate agent for you to work with. Go with Benny or Pedro or whoever else you're working with. So that's
Yeah.
very strong as well. Um, how do you feel? So we've covered kind of with the demographic. We're supposed to be talking about today.
Mhm.
You have to put in a little bit more work as far as the process, but you gain the benefits in the end because you're going to get the referrals. You're going to have someone that's really appreciative of it, and social media has allowed you to spread that. I'm kind of in the same boat now, so I haven't had social media in probably like 10 years, and I'm only 29, so it's the majority of my life I haven't
Yeah.
had social media, and I've found myself now getting into real estate and seeing that you have to get yourself out there. Obviously you can only meet a limited amount of people throughout the day in your personal life, but online you have hundreds, thousands, millions of people that can
Absolutely.
easily access your content and
Uh,
use it as a resource to refer you as well, so they can tell a friend, hey, follow Benny, look what he's doing, look at the proofs in the pudding, all the clients and testimonials he's posted, and just kind of put themselves in that picture.
Yeah.
So
You're
that's
you're
been
you're a
great.
real estate agent, not a secret agent.
Yeah. And then obviously not all your clientele just comes from our demographic. You're doing business with everybody. How has your time as a real estate agent been? So you started 5 years ago, a tough time. You started during COVID, which just presented a whole bunch of obstacles for you as a new agent. How have you been able to navigate? How's the progress been? What have been the strains, difficulties? Just kind of lay that out for us.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I won't say it's been hard. Um, it, it was easy. Anyone with a pulse was able to get into real estate and make some money in 2020, maybe more so 2021 or 2022. But in 2020, we had to be a little brave. So I was going out there with gloves, with masks, not knowing what. But I had clients that really wanted to and were motivated. I knew that I had already made the decision to quit my job and get into this. So I had that motivation at least, because I know the bills didn't care what kind of COVID was out there. They were coming anyway. And that kind of helped me and propelled me, because I was one of the agents that was out there actually and boots on the ground and looking at the houses. And it kind of, you know, starting off, it helped me out a lot. Not, 3% interest rates also helped, don't get me wrong. But just starting like that, just starting with COVID, the fact that a lot of people were like stuck at home during that time, and they realized, what they would want from their space. And we didn't know what was going to happen in the future, if we were all going to be working remotely or what. And so a lot more people started putting more value into the space, into their house, into what they have or what they don't have, and see, and work off of that. It's funny because I just closed a house, my last house that I just closed. I sold. We bought, and these were folks that we were out there with gloves, with mask. We were out there, and even the picture that we took with the sold sign, we had our masks on. Uh, we bought that house. I think it was for like 420 in Boston, in Hyde Park, and I just sold that house last week for 690. So they made, I mean, in a few years, they made so much money, and they were able to use all that money and hop into their dream home. And and they, like I said, it makes me look like a genius. But at the same time, I see it as, I tell them, listen, we got lucky. You guys bought at the right time. You guys were motivated. You guys, also put the effort to go out there and kind of like risk the unknown, and we did all that. I think where I told them, where I take pride on, and I know that I helped you guys with, was the actual service. I educated them again, these were first generation homeowners as well. You know, they needed some money as well for closing costs. We helped them get a credit for their closing costs. They needed money for their down payment. We helped them get some money for their down payment. That I think that was more so where I came in, and I take pride in helping these folks and doing that, like kind of like that white glove service for everyone.
Yeah, and that's beautiful because I mentioned in the past, you know, real estate agents, we're here working with houses, but really we're working with people. And, you know, some people are just helpful because it's their job, but other people love helping others and just gain something from it when they're able to see someone progress from point A to point B, and knowing that without their help, it wouldn't have been as easy, or they might have not accomplished that goal. So it's refreshing to see that you take pride in that. Bring it back to the real estate a bit. You know, you were a brand new agent. Did you do real estate part-time at all with your last position? Is that
No.
what you did, or you dove right in?
Part-time was, you know, when I got my license at the start of 2020, I was doing part-time until I quit my job. I think it was in July or August of that year.
What took you to make the transition to go full-time? Did you make a couple of checks and see, hey, there's more value in my time here, or was it your dedication to doing it?
My year to date in those 8 months was the same as my year to date on my full-time. And I just knew that if I doubled my input or tripled my input in terms of time, then the sky was the limit with real estate. When you work for the state, there's no bonus, there's no nothing. You could talk to the union, and I was at management position, so I wasn't even part of a union. But you can only hope and pray that the Commonwealth gives you a 2 or 3% raise every year. You know,
at the mercy of the Commonwealth. And then how did you decide? Was it important at all to you who you teamed up with during that time? Did you need a mentor? Did you have enough experience under your belt with your own home purchases? Was brokerage important to you? You know, how was that deciding?
Yeah, so I started under my mentor, Jose Rojas, as a team. He formed a team. And it was myself and 2 others. And you know, we kind of started as a team, and he would give us Zillow leads for us to close. I was able to close a couple of them, and then use all the other, you know, sphere of influence for the most part. But having him by my side, you know, just it was, you know, it's just answering questions about how to submit offers, how to talk to agents, how to do all this, how to talk to families. But he was much more of a role model, and he set an example because he's a hard worker. He's not the agent that's going to sit at home on a Saturday or Sunday, because he's always been buyer heavy as well. But he's not the agent that's going to stay at home on weekends and send you off to, you know, to go look at houses if you don't even know what you're looking at. So he'll go out with you, and I see how hard he worked, and that was my example. So I knew I didn't know any other way. So, you know, I just followed his lead, and that held me, and it propelled me for sure.
Nice. And how long did that relationship there last, where you were working under him, and, you know, what kind of made you transition over to your next step?
Yeah, I would think I was under his team for like a year or 2. And he, you know, he always still allowed us to brand ourselves. But it was, you know, with the brokers that I was with, it was kind of like to brand yourself and to, you know, for awards and milestones and negotiating your commission splits. You really need to be on your own and kind of prove yourself on your own to be able to do that. So that's what motivated me, because my intention was always to continue to grow. And so that was the motivation. We're still good friends. It's funny because a lot of team leaders, they're kind of hesitant to train you and to put all these resources and time to train you and mentor you and give you leads and stuff like that, when they know like 100% of the time these people just grow out of the team and then just leave them high and dry. And I know you're part of EXP, which is a model that still incentivizes those mentors who become your sponsors, or there's some incentive for them to help you grow and eventually move out of their team. But for traditional brokerage, big box brokerage, there's no motivation to do that. They just hope and pray that you stay long enough where they can see a little bit of money from what they invested in you.
Right, reap the benefits in the short term rather than the long term. And it's great. There's a bunch of different brokerages, similar to EXP now, but just kind of changing the structure out there so that uh,
Absolutely.
leaders in the space are willing to go ahead and pass on the knowledge and pass on the game to us younger
Absolutely.
agents, and that's super important in any industry. So it's good to see a little bit of change happen in real estate. Once you made the transition off of that team, it seems like you were kind of more independent. You know, you focused before on branding yourself and just creating your own system to generate leads, not just reliant on Zillow leads or whatever leads the brokerage is providing you. So it seems like you found some success there. How did your, like number of transactions, your income, how did that grow as you grew as a real estate agent?
Um, it did. I mean, I tried a lot of things because I always kept a good just pipeline in terms of buyers coming in. Just again because of the value that I added to folks. Just getting referrals from word of mouth was pretty easy for me. But I did YouTube during COVID. I set up my guest room as a like a mini studio, and I started doing YouTube. I started getting a little bit heavier on social media. I developed a podcast, had nothing to do with real estate, although we did speak about real estate. It was a Spanish only podcast where we invited business owners from the community to talk and tell about their story, and that helped me get my name out there in awareness. But that always helped me. But now transitioning over, what I'm doing now is I'm actually cold calling. I'm reaching out to sellers to see how I can provide value to them. And I'm being very specific into who I'm calling. I'm not just calling any random person. I am calling folks that may have, they're absentee owners, that may have tenants that are not paying rent, and they're going to, they're trying to evict them. I'm reaching out to folks that are looking to move up, that their families are growing, they're looking to move up and scale up. I'm reaching out to folks that are looking to move down because they're empty nesters and now they need to sell and get something smaller, a little bit more manageable. People that need to relocate. So I'm reaching out to those people, and then I'm finding some success. So far, I've done quite a few listings over the past few months and have quite a few signed that are coming up. But never losing sight of my buyers. I know the sexy thing is to be a listing agent. It's a lot more easier. It's easier to manage your time when you're a listing agent. When you're buyers, you're kind of, you're not just their agent. You're their therapist, their teacher, their inspector. Because before there's an inspection, you're walking through the house and trying to teach them and letting them know what you're seeing on your eyes through your experience. And so, but I enjoy that, and I never lose sight of that, and so I'm trying to do both now, and that's how I'm trying to grow my business. Kind of a little bit of both, but never losing sight of definitely those buyers. That's what really keeps me motivated. It's very rewarding.
That's awesome to hear. Because obviously, the name of the game is focused on listings. That's something you can maximize, get the most volume out of, and still reap the same financial benefits. But there's something different that comes with helping a buyer, especially when you rent to the first time home buyer, someone that doesn't know how to navigate, and being able to help them out. It's something special that comes out of that. So it is great to see that you're still trying to balance both. And from what it seems like, you're wrapping up your fourth year now in real estate. You're kind of honing in now on not just getting your name out there and letting your great services bring customers in towards you. You're kind of focusing now on specific demographics and really implementing a system to directly target them and take more control of your lead generation in general. Being that you've wrapped up 4 years now, and you're talking to someone like me, like a brand new agent that's just a month in, and to help people buy and sell their homes, and hopefully hundreds, if not thousands, of real estate agents that are new to the game watching this. What would be your advice to Benny in 2020 compared to what you know now? If there anything that you would do differently,
Oh, I wouldn't. I would just, there were some things that I tried, obviously, that I didn't pursue, that I continue on. Even my YouTube channel, I should have went heavy. Once COVID hit and doors were open, I stopped recording videos and I started focusing on actual business. But I think early on, when I was busy was just, I should have worked even harder to not just do the work that I was doing and servicing the folks that I was servicing, but also never lose sight and never lose the fact that you need to continue to lead generate to keep your pipeline full. I've grown, yes, I've grown my business every year, but I could have probably doubled or tripled my business if I would have kept that pipeline full. So that's kind of like a regret or something that I would have done differently for sure. In the beginning, a lot of people say, just focus on listings from the beginning, yada, yada, yada. I don't believe in that. I believe that the easy way to start and to learn the business and to get, like I said, get your feet wet and get out there is and stay motivated, is working with buyers. And those buyers turn into sellers at one point. People move, and those buyers are those are the ones that you're going to be able to, post on social media and have them share or have them collaborate on your post. And you're going to expand your reach, like, 10x sometimes, because even their family members they're congratulating them and reposting them, and so I did that a lot, and it helped me. So, but I always tell people when they start to do not be ashamed of just focusing on buyers. You just be buyer heavy and going into these open houses and accompanying your buyers, because you can really build a successful business if you focus on buyers, number one, and number two, if you give them good service, if you treat them well, you give them a reason to refer you out and to stay in touch with you. Like you could build $1 million business within a 10-year span.
That's beautiful. And recap something you said there. So I have a past history in luxury car sales. So I spent 6 years over at Land Rover, which you purchased a vehicle down there. If you're familiar with it. Part of the transition I'm making now from that role over to my new role is looking at my position more of as a business owner rather than as a salesperson. So partly what comes with that is, as a salesperson, I focused on my next deal. At the end of the day, I'm looking for a person that's ready to buy right now. I'm taking them through that process, and then once that process is over, now I'm stuck with nothing. I'm resetting. I'm trying to figure out the next deal. Right. And a lot of real estate agents, aren't used to being business owners and kind of take the same path as, let me go ahead and fill up my pipeline as much as possible right now because I have no business. They'll get, a handful of people under them, either looking to list or buy, whatever it might be. And it's great business for those few months that those leads last. But once that's over and that quarter is done, now you're back to point A, and you're rebuilding your business all over again. Mm-hmm. So kind of what I've heard from experienced agents like yourself is, hey, lead generation is always number one. Focus on that throughout the year. And the second part of the business is go ahead and attending to those customers that you have built up under you and continue, keep the business flowing at all times. So that way you're never stagnant.
Absolutely.
That being said, part of what I've done here with Ben and I'm sure other EXP members and other agents are doing is looking into next year. Because as we know, transaction can, take a lead can take months to nurture before it comes to fruition and actually generates business. So everything that we're doing now in November and even late November, as far as lead generation, is going to give us the business that we're seeking in 2025. Have you started to, business plan for next year and kind of look into, the places that you're focusing on now and where you're going to give the most priority to?
Yeah, I'm going to continue to work with buyers. There's buyers that I've been working with for 2 years, trying to get them ready. And I know they're going to be ready this spring. But I'm going to just continue to work with buyers, continue to stay in touch with my clients. I don't even call them clients; they're friends at this point. They're closer to being family than being clients. But focusing on their needs, see if they have any needs, if they need any help in 2025. But I've also I started dialing 2 hours a day, and I've been cold calling for at least three days a week for the past few weeks. And it's just I'm filling up my pipeline in terms of that. So definitely in terms of growing my business in 2025, that's a huge part.
That's beautiful. And as far as generating leads through cold calling, is that something that made you uncomfortable before, or is that something that you're just now focusing on to generate more business?
It made me uncomfortable. feeling, it wasn't even so the feeling of rejection, because I've been in sales before. And one thing I learned quickly is I love no's. I love when people call me and they should say no. They sometimes add a few colorful words in between there, but I love it when they say no, because I was like, all right, I get to move on to the next one. But just being able to call people and feel like you're actually helping them instead of bothering them. That's what I struggled with. It wasn't the rejection. It wasn't, all the expletives. It was how can I call them and just present myself as, I'm just here if you need help. Do you need help? No, you don't need help. All right, have a lovely evening, and so that I struggled with that. And it was really, I mean, the phones, it appeared like it was 100 pounds heavy, like just lifting that and starting that call. But once I get into a call, take a few shots, have my iced coffee, put a little bit of music behind me, and having that mindset of, I'm just here trying to help you. If you don't want my help, I mean, sorry. I mean, I'm coming from a good place. If you do end up hiring me, or if you need my help and and I end up being your agent, you're not going to regret it. So it's your loss. So that getting into that mindset, definitely has helped me. And I'm way past that fear of rejection, that fear of cold calling.
Yeah, and what's great with you, Benny, and it seems that it's something that creates an obstacle for others that it won't be for you, is that it seems like you genuinely enjoy what you do. You genuinely enjoy helping people. And so, making those calls is going to be a lot easier for you than others that are just looking to sell something. You generally have something of value to offer these people. And, once you're able to get through the first few cusses and the first few no's, I think that everyone will see that, everyone that you call, and hopefully they take time of day to listen to you and gain something from you, and use you as a resource later on and do some business.
Yeah.
I know you have a busy schedule, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up there. It's been an amazing conversation. Is there any last points that you'd like to provide to new agents like myself? Any words of inspiration, anything you got for us?
Oh, just keep going. Don't be afraid of the camera, definitely. And just have that mindset of, if you're just helping people out, you're just here to, to help people, and money will come.
Those of you out there, be a hard worker like Benny, be a good person like Benny, and the rest is history. Benny, where can we find you on the socials?
I don't even know where I'm at. Well, in terms of my handle, I know I have Instagram.
What's your handle?
I have TikTok. I do
All
have
right.
Instagram, Facebook. You can find me at Benny Troncoso, RE for real estate. That's in Facebook, Instagram, and at Living in Boston on YouTube.
Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and tag the ones I have onto my posts so they can find you. I really, really, really genuinely appreciate you coming on. And it was great chatting with you. You're a great guy, and I look forward to crossing paths on some future deals.
Sounds good, my man. Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.